What's up guys, Matt Day here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Leica Mini II. This is a really simple point and shoot camera. It's got a 35mm f3.5 Elmar lens. It's got the big Leica red dot on there, although the bottom of the camera will tell you it was manufactured in Japan for Leica camera. So I'm sure you can probably find the exact same camera with some different branding on it, and probably for a lot less. But regardless, I've had this for almost 2 weeks now. I've put about 4 rolls of film through it, and I've really enjoyed the results so far. I actually got this camera in a trade with my buddy Jacob Murphy. He was looking to start up a YouTube channel where he did some street photography and had some like point of view footage on the top of his camera with a GoPro, and I had one lying around and he offered to trade me this Leica Mini II for it, and I'm really glad I took the trade. I figured it was worth a shot. I hadn't used that GoPro in years, and I've really had a lot of fun with this thing. I've carried it around absolutely everywhere since I've got it. And I'm really happy with it. It's been kind of freeing because typically I like shooting with a camera where I control everything. So I know that exactly what my exposure is going to be, I know where my focus is, and I'm not trusting that the camera is getting it right. That's one thing that I've always had trouble, is trusting the camera to do it for me. But so far, I've been happy with the results, and it's been pretty freeing as well. Especially if I'm walking around and I either have a kid in my arms, or my kid is down here and I'm kind of chasing him around, and being able to shoot one-handed, a lot of the photos I make are of my kids and just our day-to-day lives. So having something that I can completely control one-handed, that has been really beneficial. Now, the first roll of film I actually put through this thing was Kentmere 400. That's a film that a lot of people always have questions about, but I can never answer them because I had never shot the film before. It's a film people always compare to HP5, and it's a little bit more affordable as well, but I love HP5, I know it and I trust it, and I want to support Ilford as well. And it works for me. If you know me, you know I love HP5 and Ilfotec HC. That film and developer combo is something that I've stuck with for years, and whenever I find something like that, I stick with it. I will swap and trade and try out any camera or lens all the time, but I really like sticking with a certain film stock. But I had a roll of Kentmere 400 in the fridge. My buddy Josh, he insisted that I try it out and thought I would really like the results. And so I tossed it in here, and I was actually really happy with the results. Granted, I only had 1 roll of Kentmere 400, so I can't speak a ton about the film, but I just shot 1 roll around the house, and it was only a 24 exposure roll when I thought it was a 36, so I burnt through it way quicker than I wanted. But it was just, some photos around the house of the kids. My wife was at work, and it was just me and them at the house all day, and it was an easy way for me to kind of get a feel for the camera and the film as well. But Kentmere 400 does look pretty good. I developed it in Ilfotec HC with the 1:31 dilution, just like I always do with HP5, and I did like the results. So if you're looking for a good black and white film that has a similar look to HP5, but maybe a little more affordable, you probably should check out Kentmere 400, because I really did like the look. But everything else from that point on was all HP5. So for the rest of this video, every photo you're going to see was made with HP5 at ISO 400. Which kind of brings me to my first point, which is another reason why I decided to try out that Kentmere through this rather than my M6, because I bulk load my HP5 and I don't have any DX codes on my film canisters. I don't load them into old recycled film canisters of other actual film stocks that are, labeled and have the DX code and everything. They're just blank. So it works for me because with my M6, I can manually set that ISO, and it doesn't matter what's on the canister or what isn't on the canister. But with something like this, it needs that DX code to tell the meter, because you can't manually adjust that. So if there is no DX code, it's going to default to ISO 100. And with HP5, that is not what I'm looking to do. So I had that roll of Kentmere 400. I knew that would work. And then in the meantime, I was going to try and find some HP5, because even though I bulk load all my film and I have a lot of film on hand, I'm still always kind of paranoid that I'm gonna be in a situation where I need a roll of film and I didn't bring an extra one, or whatever the case may be. So I got lucky, and that paid off, because I had a roll of HP5 in an old jacket. I had some in the car, and then I had a roll in my desk, and all of those were actual preloaded HP5, so it was branded and had the DX code and everything. So those all were fed to the Leica Mini II because they had the DX code, so I got lucky there. But regardless, I think in the meantime, what I'm going to try and do is make my own DX code labels and put those on my canisters. I've seen a little bit of information online. I think I'm going to try that out. If you have any tips for that or links that might be helpful, definitely let me know. But I am going to try and do that, I think, and obviously I'll share my results as well and hopefully inform some people what works and what doesn't. But you can do that. You can also bulk load your film into like recycled film canisters, so anything else that you've shot that has the same DX code of whatever film speed you want to shoot, you can always do that as well. That works. I just like using the simple little plastic canisters that aren't labeled because they work for me and they're simple. That's just my preferred method. But all that to say, obviously the video is a little bit more about this, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about that as well. The Leica Mini II though, it's a really simple camera. It's been a lot of fun to shoot with, and as I mentioned, I've carried it everywhere. It does have a few different modes that we can talk about, although it's nothing crazy. You know, you can't manually control much. It does offer a little more than I thought it did. You do have just a simple on-off button on the top of the camera. You press that, the lens comes out, and whenever you actually turn it off, I'll go ahead and show you, the lens just retracts, but it doesn't actually cover the lens. So the lens is always exposed, even when it's off. That might be a deal breaker for some people. It doesn't really bother me, but I figured I would mention it. But the camera itself, it works just like most point and shoot cameras. You do like a little half press to focus and then a full press to actually take the photo. One thing I have kind of noticed that's a little quirky with this camera is the actual shutter release button does have a little bit of play to it, meaning it kind of rocks around rather than just being one solid button. So if you're kind of like off to the side a little bit and you're not completely over top of it and kind of pushing in on the shutter button at an angle a little bit, it doesn't always make enough contact. So it might, you know, lock your focus in, but then if it moves just the slightest bit, it lets go and your focus, you know, comes back and you have to refocus again. For me, it didn't bother me too much. After like half a roll, I kind of got used to that, and now I just kind of smother that shutter button and completely cover it and fully press down, and that's not really a big deal. It works from that point on, but still, you know, worth mentioning. On the other side of the camera here, you do have your little window that gives you your battery life indication. It also tells you what frame you're on, and as you cycle through the modes, it'll tell you what mode you're in. And the camera actually has more than I thought it would. So just to start off, you go through the modes, you can have it set to have the flash on with like 2 flashes to kind of give like a little pre-flash before you take the photo. You also have a plus exposure compensation, so you can add a little bit of exposure as well. Maybe you're shooting in a backlight situation and you want to add a little bit for the shadows, you can do that. The next mode is flash on, so no matter what the lighting situation is, even if you have plenty of light, you can force the flash, so that's pretty handy for certain things. You can also have flash on with the pre-flash as well. Flash off, so even if you're shooting in a low light situation but you don't want the flash, you can turn it off. Infinity focus. This is something that I've actually seems like it's pretty useful. Basically what this does is no matter where your camera is pointed, no matter what's right here in front of the camera at any distance, it's always going to be focused at infinity. So one, it makes it pretty quick because it's not going to try and find focus first. And at the same time, if you're shooting through a window or anything like that, oftentimes with a camera like this, the convenience of it being able to shoot as you're in the car, maybe if you're driving, or if you're much safer, hand it to the person next to you. But I'll admit, I've been in the car before and there's an awesome landscape next to me or something I see and I just quickly shoot like that, you know. The fact that you can do that is really nice. It's not going to miss focus by accidentally focusing on the glass or, you know, the car door, anything like that. That is convenient, albeit a little dangerous. It is convenient. You can do the Infinity Focus Plus Eevee, so again, if the sun is behind the mountains or whatever and you're wanting to shoot a quick landscape, you can do that. And then after that, that's all of your modes. One thing to note is that let's say I have it set to, you know, flash on at all times. If I turn the camera off and then I turn it back on, it's not actually going to remember that I had it set to that. So every time you turn the camera on, you're going to have to cycle through the modes and get it to where you want it. So for me, I've walked around with this thing all day, turned on, just hanging around my neck. From what I can tell, there is no auto off feature because it stayed on all day for me. And I still have completely full battery. So I don't think that's really an issue. It does use the little CR123 batteries, I believe they're called. Yeah, those little fat, really expensive batteries, but they do last a long time. So yeah, I haven't had any issues with the battery. You do also have a self-timer function, which is nice if you want something like that. I actually wanted to test it out, so I tested it out the other night as I was buzzing my head. And yeah, I just figured it would be an interesting photo. It would be a fun one for the kids to find one day. But basically, you know, you just turn that on and it'll give you like a little red indicator up here. So you turn that on and it lets you know, and then whenever you press the actual shutter release, it'll count down. I'm not sure exactly how long. I would say at least 5 seconds, but you do also have a tripod socket as well, so if you want to do a self-portrait thing like that. It does have the really cool date back on the back here, so that way you can make sure it tells you, you know, what year and month and day that you shot the photo, although mine doesn't work. I know, big bummer, right? But it does have that on there. Mine doesn't work. Maybe one that you find will. It does have a little window here that's going to let you know what film you're shooting if you have, you know, an actual branded film canister in there. For people that shoot a lot of different film formats, that's definitely convenient, because I've been in a situation before where I forget what film was loaded. Years ago, I always had different color films and I always kept them in point and shoots, and having a little window like that is definitely helpful. The viewfinder itself is actually pretty big for a point and shoot viewfinder. I'm really happy with that, because some point and shoot cameras I've had, I really wasn't crazy about it, but this thing is actually pretty nice. It's got your little frame lens in there to give you an idea of what your composition is going to be, but it also has a couple LED lights in there to let you know, it'll give you a green light to let you know your focus is locked in, or maybe a red light if it needs, flash or anything like that. It does give you some information, but really, for the most part, it's just really quick and simple. It does find focus pretty quick, I found, and that's been pretty nice as well. Loading the film can be a little tricky. The first couple rolls I had to do like 2 or 3 tries to get it to take the film. Whenever you stretch the film across, it tells you, where the film is supposed to go, obviously, but it's really particular. Like, you have to get it at just the right length for it to pick it up. And it would, I'd close the back and it would try and load it, and then it would just flash 0 on the top here, basically letting me know that that didn't work, try again. And the film canister, or the film leader itself, it did tear like the exact same sprocket hole on 2 different rolls of film. It wasn't anything bad, but I noticed that while it was trying to pull it across, it sliced it. So I thought that was really weird. But after that, after like my 3rd roll, it wasn't a big deal. I kind of knew exactly where to do it, and if you just kind of like keep pressure on the film and hold it at the exact length right as you're closing it, it seemed to work out all right, but yeah, definitely kind of weird. And also, if you're midway through the roll and you want to go ahead and rewind the film from there and not try and burn through the rest of it, you do have that little pin rewind button that you can press in with a pin or something, and it'll rewind the rest of the film for you. But other than that, that is pretty much everything with the Leica Mini II. I'm really happy with the results. It's been really freeing to just carry this camera around, and actually today I went to take a photo with my M6, and rather than pulling it up to my eye where the viewfinder is, I pulled the M6 up straight in front of my face, because I've gotten so used to this thing over the last week or 2. And I really am glad I picked this up. I think it's going to be one that's going to be really convenient, especially as I'm kind of doing my day-to-day thing with the kids, and something a little simpler. And also, my son, who is 1, he has had a blast carrying this thing around and chewing on it, because he's 1, and I feel much more comfortable handing him this rather than my M6, so that's also been nice. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. But if you guys have any questions or comments about this camera at all, if you use one yourself and you have something else you'd like to mention, maybe something that I didn't get a chance to go over, definitely leave those below in the comments. And if you have any other suggestions for videos, I'm always listening to that as well. If you're new and you haven't been here before and this is your first video, I make videos like this all the time, just sharing my photography, my life as a photographer, and a dad and husband and all that. I just try to share as much as I can and be as transparent as possible. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely check out the other videos. There's a lot out there already, and we just hit 58,000 subscribers the other day. Someone pointed that out on my birthday. That was pretty mind-blowing. I don't really pay too much attention to that, but I didn't realize it was already that far up. So everyone that watches these videos, really, thank you. It really does mean a lot, and I've I've had a lot of really cool experiences just doing this and sharing what I share. So thank you for everybody who watches these videos. It really does mean a lot. I don't say it enough, but yeah, thank you. So again, if you have any questions about this camera, suggestions for future videos, I'm always listening, so let me know. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.